The U.S. believes that it is an obligation for Kosovo to establish an association of Serb-majority municipalities. And in fact, I will also note that as recently as last night, the European Union in its Council conclusions restated that expectation as well, that the government of Kosovo should move forward with that. The U.S. position has been clear. We believe that an association of Serb-majority municipalities should be consistent with Kosovo's current constitution, that it should be consistent with the Constitutional Court decision, that there should not be a third layer of government, that there should not have executive authorities. We do not want another Republikë Srpska, and we do not want something that would negatively affect the good functioning of the Kosovan state. So I have to restate the fact that while we welcome constructive feedback, I'm a little bit puzzled by so much commentary and so much criticism of this effort. We think focus should be on how can Kosovo move forward with seeing this draft adopted and moved to the Constitutional Court. If there are questions about its constitutionality, and as I've said before, I will say again, there's only one body that is capable of making the determination what conforms with Kosovo's constitution and what does not. That is the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Kosovo, but we believe this should be moving forward and moving forward quickly. And all of those who have talked about the importance of being in sync with the United States and coordinated with the United States and the West and Europe should look closely at the fact that this draft has come from all of Kosovo's friends in Europe and from the United States. We saw that as an important step in achieving a de-escalation of the situation in the north of Kosovo. And again, I'm not going to state a new position, but the United States was quite clear. While we believe the 4 mayors elected in the north were elected in a legal way, no one should be satisfied with an election in which less than 4% of the registered voters actually came and voted, and these mayors clearly do not fully represent all of the constituency whom they serve. So the government of Kosovo responded to this and put into place a structure by which citizens could, following certain steps, ensure or carry out a process to recall elected officials. I have to say it is incredibly important that all officials in Kosovo at all levels, they should be doing everything possible to facilitate the full implementation of this administrative instruction. They should be going out of their way to ensure that citizens can exercise their democratic rights. Now, I acknowledge that this has never happened before in Kosovo. This administrative instruction is new, and while the Constitution is allowed for recall, this is the first time there's ever been a process for it to happen. So it's inevitable that there could be some confusion or even some potential missteps. But I have to be clear what the expectation of the United States is, which is citizens have a democratic right, if they wish to follow it, to begin a process and to carry out a process for elected officials to be recalled. That is a question for Miroslav Lajčák. I believe Miroslav Lajčák has told the government of Kosovo and others that he's of course open to feedback. But I believe Mr. Lajčák and his team, with support from the United States and others, worked pretty closely on this draft to ensure that it did meet all those requirements I laid out. So I think the question is there room for improvement? Possibly, but that we also can't be so stuck on specifics to lose the momentum and the importance of moving forward with the association. That should have never happened. A police officer should not be killed in the line of duty fulfilling his responsibilities. With regard to the question, Mr. Radojičić, I would just say what I've said all along. The United States believes that all those responsible for this criminal attack need to be held accountable, and we expect that to happen, and we've made that clear to authorities in Serbia. Now, I can't speak to exactly how Serbia will or won't respond to an Interpol red notice, but I will note one of the premises to your question I believe to be incorrect. A red notice simply asks governments potentially to arrest someone on the basis of one country's legal process. But there are a number of times when, on the basis of a red notice, in many countries, a given government determines that it will not take action to extradite on the basis of a red notice. There has to be extradition treaties in place. There has to be a lot of other conditions. So I'll repeat what our expectation is. Our expectation is that those responsible for this attack will be held accountable. And we've made that very clear to Serbian authorities and other authorities as well. As I've said many times, the United States also is very interested in what happened in Banjska on September 24th. And we have been doing our own assessment of that, largely relying, but not solely, on information provided by the government of Kosovo. That assessment is still underway and still concluding. So I will just repeat our view. Those responsible for this attack need to be held accountable. We've made that very clear. That continues to be our position.